at St Andrew's Church in downtown Moscow on Tuesday the 19th of September with Nadia and with Mike and with the jingle. And wow, we've read some complicated stuff today. Oh my goodness, what have we just read?
Zechariah.
Mind-boggling.
Zechariah 11. Yeah, it's apparently contains some prophecies.
Yeah.
That are described in the New Testament and the Gospels, right?
Right. It's a prophecy of the 30 pieces of silver. We were a bit puzzled by this. We were looking this up, but actually, 30 pieces of silver appears, I think, as the price Judas was paid for betraying Jesus. And apparently, it was the sum which comes into Exodus. It was the sum that a master was paid if a slave had been gored by an ox, or he basically lost his slave. That appears in Exodus 21, apparently. And so it is, and it is an interesting prophecy. And I think we found a quite interesting piece on it here. Leading up to the prophecy of 30 pieces of silver is a description of a strange episode in Zechariah's life. God had the prophet Zechariah play the part of a shepherd and care for a flock doomed to slaughter. God uses this to illustrate the prophetic judgment against Israel for crucifying Christ, predicting the fall of Israel in AD 70 and the subsequent scattering of the nation. There are elements in the passage that point to it as a prophecy about Jesus. First, Zechariah says, get rid of the three shepherds, which is possibly referring to the three religious officers during Jesus' day that worked to condemn Jesus, i.e. the elders, the scribes, and the chief priests. And then second, Zechariah breaks his shepherding staffs. One is named Favor and is broken to symbolize the breaking of the Mosaic covenant by the disobedient people of God. The second staff, named Union, is broken to represent the breaking up of the nations by the Romans. There's an awful lot in this passage. I've just literally read one paragraph after just Googling that. It was a paragraph that seemed to make a lot of sense about it. But it's an interesting piece.
That obviously leads in many ways to what's in the Gospel.
Yes, exactly. Because in the Gospel, it's interesting. We got Vera here saying they are difficult passages, especially the first one. I came across a few references in today's Zechariah. If I can share one of them, basically Zechariah was role-playing as both good shepherd and bad shepherd. Good shepherd is Messiah, bad shepherd is arguably against Christ. We all know the meaning of favour and unity, about God's covenant with Israel and the unity of Judah and Israel. Yeah, exactly. They very much reflect what I just read in that commentary. God's covenant was broken by the breaking of the first staff, and then the unity of Judah and Israel and the scattering of the people of the nations in the breaking of the second. Which is very interesting. The significance of the 30 pieces of silver is really interesting.
And so overall it's those two types of shepherds, the bad one.
Right. Exactly.
The good one being Jesus, because later on he says in one of the Gospels, or maybe not more than in one, that I'm a good shepherd. So.
It's a really important idea, isn't it? The idea that there are bad shepherds who are going to lead people astray and trick them and stuff like that. Amazing.
And also speaking about the connection, we've often spotted connections between the two pieces that we're reading. So here, maybe it's not so significant, but we talked about this role of words in the Bible. So here, it's just something that caught my attention. So this word withered, we don't have it so often, but here it was in both. So at the very end of Zechariah, it's speaking about bad shepherds. Let his arm be completely withered. And then straight after that, in the passage from Mark, it's about this is what happens to the fig tree. So it becomes withered after Jesus finds no figs on it. Right, that is really interesting.
That is, we don't come across the word withered so much, but when we find it, we have it twice. Wow, that's a really great observation. So as we move on to Mark 11, our second passage today, which is also equally challenging
and full of things, different things.
And this, the fig tree thing. I think I don't fully get it. So we need a priest again. We need our Malcolm. But it is interesting,
Yes.
and he said, 'cause actually he says when he came, he found nothing but leaves on the fig tree, for it was not the season for figs. So I'm thinking, well, hang on, if it's not the season for figs, is it the fig's fault? He's got no figs. It's like, I'm just slightly puzzled by that.
Yeah, it's really complicated.
No. And then Jesus says, may no one ever eat fruit from you again. And I'm thinking, that's curious.
Yeah, that sounds. I think on the face of it, it sounds very puzzling and counterintuitive and illogical. But then probably if we read on, then it shows Peter the power of prayer. So maybe this is a little episode, because then Peter notices it and says that, Rabbi, look, the fig tree has withered.
Right.
And Jesus, replying to this comment, Jesus says that you should believe, that when you pray, you should believe that what you're praying for will happen. And then,
Yeah, in fact, Vera just said the same thing, exactly my thoughts for the fig tree. It's not his fault. But it is interesting. But yeah, the power of prayer, I think, is a really important thing, isn't it? And exactly, I think it was one of the key outtakes of this passage. In fact, in the comment from Sharon's book, which I looked at earlier today, it brings up this point about prayer. Whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father in heaven may also forgive you your trespasses. Yeah, so it says it's a really crucial thing. And he talks about it, doesn't he? So I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you've received it, it will be yours. Mountains can be thrown into the sea, literally, because it's so powerful. It is interesting that. And then also the bit of it's driving out the moneylenders, right?
Yeah, also very famous.
Which actually, also then brings Christ into direct confrontation with the elders, because he's now done something. Go and find.
And here it says clearly, so they wanted to kill him, like what he was teaching, and they didn't like that he was so crowd were spellbound.
Exactly.
Teaching, and they were thinking of they were looking for a way to kill him.
And they were afraid of it. I always think that's really interesting. We always want to kill the stuff we're afraid of, and it's such a human failing, isn't it? For they were afraid of him. Because the crowd was spellbound. It's such a human thing. And there was a thing, I can't see it now, where he said, may have, it's about all the nations of the world.
That's true. That was about the, he said,
oh yes, my house,
the temple. Yeah.
My house should be called a house of prayer for all the nations. And that's really interesting. He's like extending this invitation, not just the people of Israel, but or other people of Israel, everyone, basically, I always think it's really interesting in Jesus' ministry is his internationalism, the fact that he is calling all people of all nations, which for me is, what does Israel mean? Does it mean is it a physical boundary, or is it actually a sort of a spiritual sort of category or group of people? And we have all nations, exactly, all those who basically praise the Lord, who want to live a good godly life. It's important to think that as two connected points, if we want to have prayers answered, we should make sure that we don't have ill feelings towards each other.
That's true.
That's great, exactly.
Various comments.
Fantastic. Anyway,
it's interesting how the very last paragraph here it reflects the Lord's Prayer, which we say every time.
Oh yes.
So because it's Father in heaven,
forgive us our trespasses, so that your Father in heaven will also forgive you your trespasses. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, and it's amazing, the withered thing is interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Intriguing. Anyway, okay, we've wobbled on for 9 minutes.
Even though
Great.
we didn't know
what we're talking about. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but lots of questions you can go and investigate for yourself. Yeah, anyhow. Okay, folks.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great Tuesday. Right, see you all soon. Right, you sure want to say?